Welcome to episode 10 of Walking Wisdom with me, Dr. Aman Bhonsle. And today I'm going to introduce you to a term that I think is very interesting and it's being used more and more frequently these days. Do you want to know what it is? It's called doom scrolling. Doomscrolling. Doom scrolling. Now, what exactly does it mean? So, a lot of us are sitting at home because of the lockdown in India, and we are constantly on our phones trying to get a sneak peek into what the government is doing to counter the COVID threat. We're trying to figure out things that are happening in our locality, on our WhatsApp groups, within our family, within our circles. There's a rush for hospital beds, for oxygen cylinders, for access to doctors, for the right medical information. So there's a lot of information, and a lot of it is being either directed at us or directed through us. So there is this need to be constantly in the loop, to be constantly updated, to be constantly in the know of what's happening, because at this time, especially more so during a crisis, there is this need to be informed. There is this need to constantly be in control of a narrative that is extremely uncertain, control of a narrative that is evolving and mutating as quickly as the virus itself. And there is this desire for a consistent narrative, for a narrative that cuts through the clutter and makes sense. Because this happened, therefore that happened kind of narrative. But as I've said before as well, and I'll say it again, there are so many facets to this problem, to this crisis and calamity, that you cannot just blame one person or one factor or one episode of negligence or lack of resources and then say, it's all happened because of this particular factor. It's multifactorial, multifaceted, and it's happening at many divergent timelines. And all these timelines converge to give us a sense of panic and fear and chaos and concern for some on what is the future of this pandemic. How is it going to ravage the economy, our families, our social life, our relationships, our schedule, our careers? Because everyone is getting affected by this in one way or the other. And at the other end, there is a supply of this information easily being made available by news outlets, the independent journalism circuit, influencers, celebrities. Everyone is funneling this information, resharing, sharing stuff on Instagram, through WhatsApp, on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. So everywhere you go, there's a COVID surplus of information. And I get it, it's irrelevant. The topic is germane to the concerns that are shared by everyone. But this tendency to just twiddle your thumbs and scroll up and up and up and up and go on this binge and, sort of just ingest all this information. That is what doom scrolling is. You are scrolling to try and predict the extent of the doom and gloom scenarios, the nature of the doom and gloom scenarios, the progress of the doom and gloom scenarios. And that, my friends, is doom scrolling. You're scrolling up or scrolling down, one way or the other, trying to siphon all this information so that you are the most informed and the most enlightened and the most safe and the most prepared individual, according to your estimations of yourself. Because how prepared is too prepared? I had done a video about this as well. We're never really fully prepared because we're always making decisions, important decisions, sensitive decisions, time-bound decisions based on the information we currently have, not on the information we wish we had or that we should have had according to someone else. So all decisions are made with information that currently sits with you, currently resides with you. So more importantly, it's essential to understand that no matter how much you scroll, how frequently you scroll, who's the mouthpiece that you are the most sensitive to. Are you following the WHO? Are you following a few really popular independent journalists? Are you following a stand-up comic with a social conscience? Are you following a celebrity who's doing volunteer work to get this infrastructural disaster under control? Whoever you're following, if there is a tinge of the fact, the thematic fact that they are trying to propagate, if there's a tinge of that theme that, oh no, we are all screwed, or we're all in trouble, or we're all going to die, or we're all in a mess, if you sense that, then yes, my friends, you have been doom scrolling. And the point of the matter, which I'm going to jump to right now, is that's not good for your mental health, man. You know, I remember this experiment that our science teacher made us do. Biology teacher, nice lady, perfectly affable. She brought us these white flowers. She put it in a bottle of blue color ink, and then eventually the white flowers turned blue in color because the flowers tend to, draw moisture, water, etc. to survive. That's how flowers work, right? Basic biology, school biology. And I remember what my teacher said to us that day. She says that whatever we draw from, whatever we have access to, whatever we pull from, we start taking on its characteristics. We take on its color, its tone, its mood, its morality, which is why I'm such a passionate advocate of being very careful about who you call your friends and who you hang out with and who you put your faith in and who you give valuable hours of your life to. Of course, this is not something that I have always known with age, with practice, with a certain amount of reflection on mistakes that even I've made, everyone makes. It's very important to be very choosy about not just the company you keep in the real world, but also about the company that you keep in here. So what ideas are you letting in? What information are you letting in? What news feeds have you subscribed to? What Instagram profiles are you following? What YouTube channels do you watch? And if all of them share this common theme of the doom and gloom scenarios vis-a-vis the COVID-19, then that is going to affect your mental health. You know what's going to happen? You're going to feel fatigued, disillusioned, angry, upset, nervous, distracted, unable to focus on important tasks for the day. You're going to feel burdened. You're going to feel some kind of weight that's just weighing you down. You're going to start feeling listless. You're not going to be able to adhere to a schedule. You're going to find yourself extremely spread thin. Even though physically you might not be going through anything because, of course, let's assume you haven't been infected by the COVID-19 yet. Emotionally, you're going to feel drained. You're going to feel extremely spent. You're going to feel like, what's the point of life? What's the point of having this government or whatever it is that you have your gripes with in the moment? And like the white flower from science class, you're going to take on the characteristic of the water that it draws from. So doom scrolling, I'm not going to say something simplistic like, oh, it's bad for you, stop it, it's horrible, end it. I'm not going to say simplistic things like that because I don't want to insult your intelligence. That's the one thing. I never ever want to insult the intelligence of my viewers. So let's understand the practical perspective on wanting to be informed, but yet not overdoing this binge and inflow of information that just makes you feel like shit. In this day and age, it's important to be informed. It's important to have the news sources that you are drawing from to be extremely credible. It's very important that these are verified news sources and these are voices that have certain market credibility to them. That being said, you got to put a time cap to how much of this news you ingest. For example, if you spend 1 hour in the morning while you are just getting ready for your day on your phone, constantly looking at the news, that sets a very macabre and almost bleak tone for the rest of your day. Now, I'm not saying you watch videos of little puppies playing with each other or babies, sitting next to kittens. I'm not saying you do that. I'm just saying you got to make sure that you start your day with a bang. Now, that doesn't mean you look in the mirror and say, I'm a champ. Like some people will ask you to create all kinds of vision boards, mood boards, dream boards. Okay, I'm bored. We're all busy people. We're all extremely focused on what is important to us. But sometimes it's very easy for us to get into this online vortex of news and the consumption of news and the analysis of news and this binging of views. People blaming the leadership, people blaming the medical infrastructure, people blaming other people who are not wearing their masks properly. It's very easy to find yourself lost. It's very easy to lose yourself in this slurry of information. It's very easy for you to start feeling pessimistic and extremely judgmental, and righteous in situations like that. It's common, it's not unheard of. And that's why you got to limit your exposure to the news first thing in the morning, because that's not going to be good for the rest of your day. It sets a very dismal tone for the rest of the day, because you say, oh no, nothing's happening, or oh no, all the wrong stuff is happening, or oh no, people are imbeciles, or oh no, the country is screwed. So, that tone sort of percolates down, 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 and then it kind of affects the rest of your day as well. So don't start your day with the news because, or even if you start your day with the news, keep a time cap. Say, all right, I'm going to be on Instagram, I'm going to be on Facebook, or whatever the hell I'm accessing to get the news, but not for more than 5 minutes. All right, and the rest of the time needs to be spent in getting yourself into game mode, so to speak. Catch up with the news one more time at the end of the day, but try to stay clear of these live updates, because understand the news channels and the news media has a mandate to keep you hooked. All right, it's not it's not something to judge them for or to belittle them for. All right, we get it. It's also the same mandate that advertising or your favorite comedy on Netflix has, to keep you engaged, because you are a consumer to them. And a consumer is only as relevant as the amount of time and attention he gives to the product or service on offer. Sometimes it's for money, sometimes it's to build equity, brand equity, sometimes it's just to get an idea out there and get the maximum number of eyeballs to increase your influence. There are many agendas with which a certain outlet may want to keep you hooked. And nowadays, there's no news that moves faster than bad news, disastrous news, and most importantly, news that tries to predict the future, when the fact is, none of us can predict the future. No one was able to predict the second wave. All the experts, some people were like, yeah, okay, it's coming. Then people were like, yeah, okay, it's come. So there's just so much happening on the 5-lane highway of life. So many cars and ideas and perspectives zooming past that it's very easy to get addicted to scrolling your phone and wanting to know everything right now, so that you can predict when this pandemic will end right now, so that you can end your suffering right now, meet your friends right now, go to the frickin' Maldives right now. But you and I know nothing happens immediately in the here and now. We got to sit and let these things steep a little bit. Sometimes the information evolves as well. I said this earlier. So to end this video, a few tips to sum it up. Limit the amount of time you spend on your phone. Curate the people you are following on social media so that you don't get harassed with the constant barrage of information and you don't feel cowed down or sad about the whole thing, because it is a situation worthy of note, and it is a situation that can really distress or upset you. All right, make sure the news is from verified sources only. Make sure to make time for the people and activities that you enjoy, that you love, and that you've always loved. Do not ignore those things. All right, see, none of us really know when this damn thing is going to end. All right, and it has upended us in more ways than a video can describe. I get it, I respect it, I empathize. But your constant scrolling and constantly binging on the news isn't going to end the pandemic. It's going to only make you feel worried and dismal, all right? That doesn't mean you close your eyes and ears and mouth and sit under a rock. It's important to be educated and informed and in the know. But an excess of anything can be problematic, because as I said earlier, it sets the wrong tone. And when I say wrong, it's not a moral judgment on what is right and wrong. It's wrong because it will weaken you, and anything that weakens you or makes you feel like you're losing hope, that's not exactly good for you. Now you get to decide what's good for you or no. How much of the news do you want to really consume? How much of that news is verifiable? How much of that news is really contributing to your understanding of the way this virus is behaving, mutating, and moving in different directions? You get to decide what's good for you. But if you're feeling weak, if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling disconnected, if you're feeling isolated, if you're feeling pessimistic, if you're feeling a loss of drive, then for very obvious reasons, that's not good for you, because that takes away precious time that you could be giving to important people, important goals, important activities. All right? War isn't over yet. We don't know when this pandemic is going to end. But what can end is this trend and sort of tendency in your life to invite worry and therefore misery. So be very careful about the habit of doom scrolling. Watch that thumb, all right? And most importantly, don't judge yourself, all right? Last week as well, I was in this space where I was constantly binging the news, and I noticed how it also made me feel a little bit worn down. It just kind of ruined my mood, and I'd feel like, yeah, what's going to happen, what's going to happen, what's going to happen, nothing's going to happen, what's going to happen. It's very easy to slip and fall down that rabbit hole, okay? It's happened with me, it's happened with people I know, it happens with a lot of people. And you don't have to be of a certain temperament to be affected by dismal or disappointing news, right? This isn't the first crisis that humanity has faced. Can you imagine what people must have gone through in the US during the Cuban Missile Crisis, or during the Holocaust, or during Pol Pot's regime in Cambodia, the Khmer Rouge, or how India must have felt during the partition when people were completely uprooted from their homes and put onto crowded trains, uncertain of the future in front of them. Or how every freedom fighter, my grandfather included, must have felt every time they felt the British were just out the door, just out the door. They're going to go now, they're going to go now. But then nothing happened for a decade, and we have found a way forward. We have found a way out of it. So guys, please don't lose hope. Please don't hate yourself. Don't judge yourself. Don't succumb to everything you see. It's important to work hard to maintain your neutrality, and that's what I'm going to leave you with. Keep a neutral perspective. Don't get biased, don't get depressed, don't get angry, and even if you do, snap out of it over time. See it as a transition, and like in video games, you gotta move from cover to cover to cover. Otherwise the enemy shoots you in the head. Stop doom scrolling, stop trying to predict the future. Nothing's written in stone. Do your bit, stay safe, stay indoors, stay protected, stay selective about who you meet, and stay masked at all costs.